So the first thing I did was let my chicken unthaw in the boiler, and then I cleaned it in the boiler. I made sure it was cleaned thoroughly. So right now I'm taking it out and putting it in containers. The containers I'm going to use to actually season my chicken in. And I got the chicken from Publix. I think it was $5 for each pack. So that was a really good price for those. So I did go ahead and give the chicken an extra rinse. And now I'm just going to take a napkin just to dry them the best that I can. I do this every time I cook any kind of meat. I always get the excess water from off of the meat so that the seasoning or anything I use to cook the chicken with is all cleaned off of the chicken before I add any kind of seasoning, before I grill it, anything. I make sure I take a napkin and I just dab over all the chicken to make sure it's all dry. So now I'm going to do my seasoning. The first seasoning that I use is ground cumin. If you have not used this on your chicken, you have been missing out, and it would be helpful if I would go ahead and open it, right? So this is a new one that we had in the cabinet. I just realized that once I pulled it out to use it, but I use this on all my chicken. It gives it such a really, really good taste. Even if you're baking it, whatever way you cook it, try ground cumin if you have not used it. I can't describe the taste of it, but it will set your chicken off. And right here, I'm just rubbing the seasoning into the chicken. And I make sure I do that with all my chicken just to make sure that it's placed throughout all of the chicken evenly. So now I'm going to add black pepper to my chicken. What's chicken without black pepper, right? So, yeah. Adding my black pepper to the chicken and making sure that I also rub it in. I know you guys think this is going to be spicy after you see everything I'm adding, but it's really not going to be spicy. So next I'm using some chili powder. And like I said, this is going to give your chicken that color and that crisp. And this one wasn't open either. So I'm thinking that I have now two open in the cabinet since I'm going through, and every time I come into something, I have to open it. But I just want to let you guys know, when you use these seasonings, they're not going to be spicy once your chicken is baked. It's not going to be spicy at all. It's going to give it a nice brown color and crispness. So next I'm going to use Slap Ya Mama Cajun seasoning. I've been using this on everything because it has really, really a good flavor. And I know you're seeing the spices again and like, oh my God, this is going to be spicy, but it's not. So everything is all seasoned and good to go. So in order to get your wings crispy, you can have a glass or a metal pan. The aluminum foil is going to help your chicken become crispy. So you just lay out the aluminum foil over the bottom of the pan. Make sure it's even. Next, you're going to place your chicken and be sure to give your chicken a little space from each other. You don't want them all over each other. You want them a little bit separate so they can be crispy. That's how you're going to achieve the crispy texture to your chicken once you're baking it in the oven. And you're not going to add a top on it either. You're just going to bake it just like that. So next, I'm going to add some cayenne pepper. And this is basically really for color because they are not spicy at all. It's going to give you that crunchiness and it's going to give you that nice texture. And once you try this, you'll see. So now they are placed in the oven, and you already know I put them on 450. I'm not going to cover them, and I let them cook for 40 minutes where you can do it to your liking. Next, I had to make a separate batch of chicken for my daughter because she is so picky. So I just put some extra virgin olive oil in my grill pan. And this is my go-to oil for everything. If I have to use oil, I try not to use too much oil, but I just use a little bit to go in the pan to coat it so the wings won't stick. And I put some, I like it when you give me some Zagoya. I put a little bit of that on there for my daughter. Because I don't want to give her too much, because if she doesn't like it, if it's not flavor enough for her, I can just add ranch to it or ketchup, some type of condiment. She's a condiment girl. So you moms know, or you dads know, when you're cooking for your kids or you're cooking for people and they picky, you can just do a little bit, you know what I mean, and just add some condiments to it on the other end. And I'm also doing some rice. I use a cup of olive oil in the rice. My husband, my son, my daughter, they love rice because they are Puerto Rican. So I put some salt in there. Now I'm just going and turning over my chicken that's baking in the oven. You have to turn your chicken over if you want both sides to cook evenly. So as you can see here, my flip game ain't on point because I'm scared of the oven. I'm scared to get burnt because I've been burnt so many times cooking and baking. You know how it is when you get little burns or grease burns. I'm scared of the grease. So as you can see, chicken makes its own grease. And you just make sure at least halfway in you flip them all over, like I said, so they can cook evenly on both sides. You don't want to have one side soggy, one side crispy. What's the science on that? We're not going to do that. So you're going to make sure that you go in. It's going to stick a little bit, but that's fine. Once it keeps baking and it gets crispy, you can't even tell the difference. So just make sure. And I didn't use any Pam. Anything. You can use Pam if you want, just a little bit so it won't stick, but I do not use anything extra on the aluminum foil. So I'm putting them back in and let them keep going for 20 more minutes. So here are my daughter's wings. They have a long way to go. When you bake them when I grill them on the stove, I make sure all the blood is gone. I make sure I cook them well. And the rice is finished. So next I'm cooking my Parmesan spinach, and it came out so good. Again, I use a little bit of oil so my stuff won't stick. So I used a half a bag of spinach because you know that spinach withers down, and I keep telling you guys that over and over again. So put my spinach in there on medium in my skillet. And like I told you, the spinach, if you don't like it, put anything on it you need to put on it, but it will burn your belly fat. And I can't stress it enough, people. One day you're going to listen to me. So next I'm adding my Parmesan, and this Parmesan I got from Publix. So I'm just going to go in. Look how good and green that looks. And I'm just going to add some Parmesan to it, and I'm going to basically cook it the rest of the way with the Parmesan on. And I did add some more at the end, but this was really good and tasty, and it's so healthy for you. I like good meals that are tasty and healthy. So I'm just going to stir that in until it finishes. And I went ahead and turned off the eye of the stove because you don't want no burnt spinach, because some people don't know. You don't want to overcook spinach because it gives it an awful taste. So make sure you just, it only takes about 5 minutes for your spinach to cook. Next, I got my rice, and I only did a half of a cup, and I am using measuring cups to measure everything now to give me a portion. And I only use a cup of spinach, so I just took it out of the pan and I put it straight into my bowl. And your plating is everything. Next, I'm adding more Parmesan because that Parmesan is so good on the spinach. Let's talk about these wings. Let's get into these wings. It was so hot, I dropped it. They are so crispy. Look at that. Beautiful. And they're baked in the oven, not fried, baked. So I'm only going to put 5 wings on my plate because I'm not going to be greedy. I'm still going to stay within my portions, and I'm still going to do everything right. So here is the final plating, and it was so good, and I was full after this meal. If you guys like this, let me know. Give me a big thumbs up and say, Jerrika, we like this. I will see you on the next video. Smile. It increases your face value.